Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to tonight's program. Another interesting and I hope enjoyable program for everyone. Tonight's program, like every night's program, people are normal. Yes, people are normal. I asked, do anybody know anyone who's normal? The response was, everyone's normal. People started minding their own business, and they found that they were more normal than they thought they were. Taking care of business as individual people. That's normal. Thurman is my name, and what's my game? IntelliStress. IntelliStress is my game. Tonight's program is brought to you by, as you know, www.calendarwriters.com and IntelliStress ProfoundManagement.com. It's the website where you can take your character to the ultimate food for thought, intellectual food for thought. The website where you can say to others, I am well, I am thoughtful, and I am special. When you say that to other people, and you tell them that you believe that you are special because you are thoughtful, and you tell them that you are well, people have confidence in you. All right. What's interesting? A lot of interesting things happening in the world today. All kinds of things. But one thing I found interesting is not a current event or anything like that. It's about this young man. He's a musician by the name of Josh Bell. In 2007, he conducted an experiment in Washington at the Metro station. Now, he's a musician, and that night he held a concert, $100 tickets, the concert. He played a $3.2 million violin. $3.2 million. Now, he had just come from the concert where you had to pay $100 for a ticket just to sit down and listen to him play. So the experiment says you to go out on the street, go out to the metro station where the crowd is, you know, people catching their train, whatever, and play the violin to see what the response was. He made $32. Hardly nobody stopped to even pay attention. But he was playing the same $3.2 million violin. And people had just paid $100 a ticket to hear him play. Now, are people normal? Are people normal? Yes, people are normal. Why? Because he was popular with people. They knew about him. They knew him. They bought tickets. They were, you know, they had this camaraderie with him. They were fans of his and things like that. A personal advertisement of the young man. So we find now the people on the street, they didn't know him from no one else. All they knew this was a musician like many others playing a violin. They didn't know that the violin was $3.2 million and that this guy was very, very popular. So it didn't bother them at all. So that shows that people are normal. If people know about you, then they will respond in kind. If they don't know about you, maybe it's not the music, it's not the violin, although it cost $3.2 million. It's not that. It's that they didn't know him and there was no interest rate. The rate of interest was low. And that's what we're talking about today. Personal rate of interest. Principles and interest rates. Yes, people are normal. Okay, tonight we're going to talk about relationships and demands. We all know that life is very demanding. And a lot of people who know about stress management, one definition for stress management, like I said, is the psychological and biological reaction to the everyday demands of life. Life is demanding, but how you react to those demands, how you deal with those demands, determines the texture or the outcome of how your life is going to be characterized. Okay. Relationship with parents can be a tightrope with the residential spirit. Now, I'm saying again, I am not a minister or anything like that. I'm a conversationalist. I wouldn't even say I'm a motivator, but I am a conversationalist. I like to talk to people about things. I like to share with them my thoughts. I like to entertain people that way. So I don't want people to confuse me with others that are out there popular and so forth, where you get so confused, then you say, who is that? Although you know, but then you're going to say, who is that? Because you're confused. Just like the $3.2 million violin. Okay, we said that relationship with your parents can be a tightrope. Now what I'm saying is, let's look at a tightrope. Let's say that tightrope is a coin. Let's say a 25-cent coin. On one side of that coin are, remember we was talking about, are the people, how things are people. On one side of that coin. On the other side of that coin, which is the tightrope, is the how things ought to be people. Now we got A and B. Now what's between A and B is confusion about how things ought to be. Not confusion about how things are, but confusion about how things ought to be. You see? Now, let's say that during this confusion, our money value, which now I don't know if anybody know about EMC, energy equal mass times the speed of light squared. But there's another EMC. economics equal money currency square. That's EMC also. So let's say this, on one side of this coin, is economics equal money currency square on one side of the coin. And the other side of the coin is energy equals mass times light speed. Okay, now let's say the energy is how things are, how that energy affects us, how that energy shape, forms, and fashion our lives, and how we deal with such energy. Not only the energy that we have, like electricity and other forms of energy that we have, but we talk about the energy of our minds, consciousness, the energy of our minds. And then on that other side of the coin, how things ought to be, we're talking about money. Economics equal money time currency square. Okay, all that means is, all that means is that money, because of this confused situation, this coin, money has a mind of its own. And anybody in financial businesses or financial education will tell you that money has a mind of its own. It develops a mind of its own through associating with people and going from hands to hand to hand. Remember, money is what we call a consciousness, but it is an acquired consciousness. It's not a natural consciousness. It is an acquired consciousness. So therefore, it is going to, like anything else, it's going to have its own little privacy, its own little theme. So in dealing with money, how things ought to be, we try to use money to make things like it ought to be. But then where the confusion comes in is the way things is, people abuse money a lot of times. People will forsake their own moral character for money. That do things bad to others for the sake of money. So money develops this character, but money is the good. They say money is the root of all evil. On one side of the coin it is. Because you can say evil is that energy. Evil is that power. You know, you got words of power, and you got power of words. Now that power of words is going to be a consciousness that is described within the failure self. Three things we have to look at when we look at ourselves as individual characters, human beings. We have to look at, in our social society, we have to look at the failure self, let's say, is that energy. Because you got to compete. I mean, nothing, you can't do anything unless that energy, unless you overcome that resistance. Let's say how things are, and that energy is that failure self that you have to overcome and you have to compete with. And then on the middle of that coin there, you're going to see what you call the ordinary self. And then on the other side of that coin is you're going to see the successful self, how things ought to be. People ought to be successful in whatever they do. Because the way creation have it, life is given to people as a comfort. Things for their happiness, for their comfort. But they have to overcome the failure on the other side of the coin. That energy, that power. The ordinary person, the ordinary self, they're going to do ordinary things. They're not going to be anything special. You know, they're going to be, you know, just ordinary people. They're not going to be famous people. They're not going to be successful at anything that really is of social note. So what I'm saying is, when we talking money and we talking about our social society and our communities, how do we derive that money? How do we create that money? We got a lot of ways of creating that money. We create it for the good, but then that money is created by other ways that has nothing to do with you nor I. It has to do with energy. Energy is the motivating force. Economic energy. It has to have. We are used in the first place when we get a job and we create things and we do things we do. We are used by our society. We are used by that creates airplanes. We are used by that creates satellites. We are used by all these things, and we are given comfort in doing these things, which is a good agreement plan. You work and you do this and you create this, and I give you comfort. I give you money. I give you all these things. But what you have to do is overcome your failure self. That failure self can be your worst enemy if you have the desire to really accomplish, to really achieve something, or to achieve what you want to accomplish for yourself. That failure self is there. That failure self is real. Even the best of plans go awry and can never be realized because of the failure self. And remember, that failure self, what we call a diapetori latitude. You know, you have to, when you're born into the world, your parents have to care for you. If nobody cares for you, then you kick the bucket. That's that failure self from birth, saying that somehow or another, kiddo, you're going to have to be the boss. You're going to have to overcome this energy. So you learn to overcome it. You are taught to overcome it. You walk, you crawl, and then you get up and you fall down. But then you learn to keep walking and not fall down. These are things that we remember. These are things that what we call the common sense. Common sense, what life is telling us. That's what common sense is. What life is telling us. And then we continue our lives. We continue to fashion ourselves according to what life is telling us. basic stuff, everyday stuff. 2 hands, 2 legs, a brain to think with, and to do as everybody is doing, which is, the normal thing. People are normal. Do what is normal. But they say, well, what is normal on the other side of the coin is these bad things that are happening on the news and in the newspapers. Now, and I'm sure that a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but this program, People Are Normal, we're going to share these things with you. Police and young teenagers and young men are having a problem. They're having a problem that they didn't have before. Young people, what's causing that problem? Is money causing the problem? Money has a mind of its own. Do they really know what's going on? Or are they surprised as anybody else? The law enforcement, are they surprised at what's going on just as much as the average citizen? But there's a lack of communication. It seems that they do not know how to communicate with each other. Is it money? Money has a life of its own, and people are normal. Can't forget that. The residential spirit. Now, like I said, I'm not a minister or anything, and I'm not religious. But, I accept all that. But one thing I know about the residential spirit that we all have, where our personal lives are concerned. But that residential spirit that we all have, that regulates our personal life, is also the public spirit. It's the public spirit. What's going on in the public is going on within you. You understand? A lot of times, within you so deep that things happen and you saying, damn, how in the world, what happened? What happened? This seems to be the norm, thinking like that. That residential spirit. But then again, let's say going to school for life is physical education. I didn't say spiritual education, I said physical education. You ever take, how many people have been to school and they took physical ed in school? You put on your shorts, your tennis shoes, your gym trunks, and you do all sorts of things. Gymnastics, basketball, running track, all that kind of stuff. Physical education. Okay, we said that going to school for life is physical education. That residential spirit that we was talking about is not so much personal within you anymore, about your personal relationship with your wife or your children or your mother and your father or your girlfriend. It becomes its public self, the public spirit. It becomes an outrovert instead of an introvert. An introverted spirit becomes an introverted spirit, excuse me. And life is a physical education. That's where your failure self comes into play for real. Because that's what you got to deal with. You got to overcome that. Because here, you got what you call your similar self. You ever seen somebody that look like you? Or somebody say, I seen you before. Look like I seen you before. Every individual have many what they call similars. Similar people like themselves. That's that residential spirit that I was telling you about, which is a public spirit moving around. So you can be what they call remote. And when I say remote, you can be affective. I'm not talking about effect. I'm talking about affect. Affect is where you have affects or personal belongings. I'm not talking about effect. Effect is when you affect something, or you disturb something, or you alter something. But I'm talking about affects, your own personal belongings that helps guide what your life is. And we call them your similars. I've seen a lot of people that I know, especially girls. I see a lot of girls that I know that look like girls that I know. And they be doing it. And they do a good job. But matter of fact, we're going to talk about that one day, especially we're going to have a program for men. And we're going to talk about the ladies in our life, things like that. But that's on another program some other time. But right now we're dealing with the physical education of things, and how in physical education you can hurt yourself. You can hurt yourself playing ball. You can hurt yourself doing gymnastics. But that's like going to school for a tree of life. Because life is an education. And like we said, it's the ups and downs of education. It's trying to walk and falling, trying to walk and falling, dealing with that failure self and that successful self, and trying to balance it out and trying to overcome that successful self. So tonight we want to focus on the world today and realizing that there is something wrong, that we can make those things right that is wrong with our society. Now remember this, a lot of times we don't, because what is going on today is accepted. It's accepted as a continual visual field of history. It's been happening ever since we can remember, these type of things. It's nothing new. Matter of fact, it was worse years ago. Today, it's cake tree. Excuse me. This is my little tree right here, but that's an artificial tree. You understand? Today, this artificial tree. It ain't no real tree like a long time ago. So let's not get overwhelmed by change, because that's what we're talking about, change. And you can't be scared to say the word change because of other things. You got to know how to deal with change so that you can be comfortable with it and others can be comfortable with it. You don't know what I would like for you to know unless I try to explain the best way I can about it. Okay, now, let's see. What else was it I was thinking about? IntelliStress. Remember I tell you, IntelliStress is my game. All right. Now, I hope I've given you something that you can lay down with. And you can think about it and say, wait a minute, there's something I am supposed to do. And that's something you're supposed to do. And when you get up in the morning, you're supposed to say, well, now I know things are wrong. Now I'm going to try to figure out how things should be better. You know, without getting off. See, what they call is emotions before we think. You know, we just go out there emotionally. And without even thinking about what we're doing. And that part of us takes over and can become a habit. And we do things that we don't even know what we're doing as a matter of habit. But we got to think about it. It's time. This is what IntelliStress is all about and the new calendar is all about. It's time to start thinking about what you're doing to make things better. Scientists will tell you. Scientists will tell you Washington, the weapons, you know, the weapons department in any country will tell you, they'll look at me and say, what are you talking about, kid? I'll be talking about 2361, that's the future. We go into the years ahead. That's 300 some years from now. What are you talking about? Now that's what the military people, the head people in Washington and in Yemen, Syria, Israel, all these people who got the nuclear weapons and all and germ and all these germs and all that kind of stuff. They said, what are you talking about, man? You know, we just about had it. Rightfully so, energy-wise, that side of that coin. See, but that same coin spins the same way on the other side. That's what IntelliStress is all about. It's about dealing with it. It's about a new product of time that we have been given by the common sense. And we're supposed to deal with it. You ain't supposed to be fighting over it. You ain't supposed to be destroying property values going down because you're so excited you can't control yourself. You gotta maintain your property values. You gotta maintain your own values. You know, you can't go starting violence because you say, oh, that's the way things are. It's not. It's about how things supposed to be. And if you want to clash with the supposed to be people, how things supposed to be people, then you're going to eventually lose out. Because history proves that you are going to lose out. Because we get better and better and better. You see? So, with that, my name is Thurman, and that's tonight's program. People are normal. Always remember, people are normal, and so are you. And you are also special to someone. And that someone is me, myself, and I. Peace out, everybody. Till next time. Thank you.